Welcome to another edition of Sean Matthews Podcast. Joe, how you doing today?
Sean, how you doing, my brother?
Doing pretty well, man. Just had a long day of work. I got my day off tomorrow. I'm feeling pretty good. You got some lyrics for us?
I do, and they are as follows. Quote, you grew up riding the subways, running with people, up in Harlem, down on Broadway. You're no tramp, but you're no lady. Talking that street talk. You're the heart and soul of New York City. End quote.
All right, so that's Native New Yorker by Frankie Valli. He was also
Yes,
in the Four Seasons, but I think this version is actually just Frankie Valli. I could be wrong. But it's from an album called Lady Put the Light Out from 1977. And Joe, I'm pretty sure I know why you chose these lyrics. We did something. We went to New York City. What did we do?
well, you and I did something we've been talking about for a while. We just decided to, hey, let's stop talking and start doing. So we were talking one on the phone, and I said, I'll go to a ball game or something with you. I'll go to a Yankee game because I've never been to Yankee Stadium. And within about 3 minutes, you had texted me this ticket stub and well, how about this day and this date? I'm like, oh, okay, man. So I just looked at it, and we got the tickets. We're on the first base, behind the first base dugout, a little bit further down the line, but right on. It was beautiful, the best seats I've ever had, I think, at a ball game, at Yankee Stadium. For a reasonable price. I mean, nothing at Yankee Stadium is cheap, but
We're 12 rows from the field, man. We have pretty good seats.
yeah, yeah. So I saw that, and I said, okay, let's go ahead and go. And it was last Tuesday, and as we're just driving in, that afternoon in the shower before I drove up to your place to meet you to head on up to the Bronx. I just had these New York songs in my mind. You're in the shower and you're whatever's on your mind. I'm washing up, and I'm singing that one. I'm singing Ace Frehley's back in a New York groove and this and that. And I just had to come up with one. There was a couple others that I was thinking of, New York songs. Yeah, I mean, New York songs. But there was one that stuck in my head, and I guess it was just that particular rhythm. It's a song that, I, as a young kid, would have never really picked up on the disco thing, but I have a sister who's 8 years older than I am. So if I'm 11, you know what I mean? She's 19, she's going around, and in 12, she's 20, and she and my now brother-in-law were dating at the time, and they would get up dressed up. They would get all dressed up and go out to these places. And I never knew. They would just say they were going out dancing, and I never knew anything about it. I'm 11, 12. I'm like, and I just getting into rock and roll. And I come from a time, where I hung out with a lot of guys growing up. They're like knuckle draggers, and, disco's ridiculous. Rock and roll's where it's at. Whoa, whoa, But as you grow up and you start to learn things, you start to go out to these clubs, and you start to see all the pretty girls that are out there moving on the floor. And then Michael Jackson started kicking off his stuff, and I started to like some of the disco music because like I told you before, I like a little bit of everything. Long story short, I remember this song, Native New Yorker, and it was just a really cool song. And they mixed it in. They classify it as disco. I'm not really sure if it is, but it was during that era. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I'm telling you, you could I just saw something last night on the Beach Boys. They were doing a tribute to the Beach Boys on TV. They could do the same. They've done the same for Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I mean, these are groups that have. You go on and you see this song and then that song and then that song. Oh, they did that one too. Oh no, that was them too. And that one, you think, oh my God. So Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons were absolutely tremendous. You'll be hearing from me again, but this was a New York thing. And as we're driving through the city, it's getting louder in my head. You know what I mean? You're the heart and soul of New York City. But so for that reason, but for that line I just sang there, you're the heart and soul of New York City. Now, the song is about a woman that's a native New Yorker, a pretty girl strutting down the street. That's fine. And as you feel the pulse of the city, I'm feeling that song. But the heart and soul of New York City, to me, had a dual meaning. The New York Yankees. I mean, if you take a sports franchise, and just say this particular franchise is going to be moved out of this city, the last franchise you would think of would be the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees, more than the Knicks, more than the Giants, more than the Rangers or anybody else. The New York Yankees are baseball. They're Americana, they're history, and they are the heart and soul of New York City. So that's where I got all that. But it was cool.
Yeah, man. We had a good time for sure. It was fun. You know, we drove in. I drove, and you were a good passenger, sir. We never hung out outside work,
right?
And sometimes you hang out with people outside work. They're a little bit different, right?
Right.
And you're in your close quarters in a car. It's like, okay, how's this person going to behave? Are they going to be respectful? Are they going to be annoying?
Right.
And I thought you were pretty good in the car, man. Like you weren't really, you didn't have too many demands. You know what I mean? You were like, the one thing you said was, well, I had the air conditioner too high. You're like, man, can you just turn that down a little bit? But you didn't complain about it. You were just like, I'll turn that off. Like you asked me politely. We listened to music. We had good conversation. I thought it was a good bonding, especially for the show.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, man, because we were going to take the train. We're going to take the train and take the subway. But we're thinking, we'll go to New York City another day and like hang out in the city. This is a Yankee game, and like getting out of Yankee Stadium after the game, that we wouldn't have been home till like 2 a.m, like 1 or 2 a.m. We were home. I was home by 11:30. Then you were home by like midnight. So we made good timing, and it was fun, man. We went to this cool restaurant. I think it was called Court Deli and Restaurant. It was kind of like a little diner.
Yeah.
We got cheeseburgers there. Cheeseburgers were delicious. I'll let you talk a little bit about it because you're better at describing food than I am. But one thing I wanted to see that was on my bucket list, because I've been to Yankee Stadium before. There's a bar right outside Yankee Stadium called the Dugout, and they have a Taco Bell window inside the bar. Like you could literally be just drinking in the bar, hanging out, and you go up to a Taco Bell window at random and just order like food, and then bring it right to the window inside the bar. So that was cool. We weren't like going that we weren't going there specifically, for that. We were looking for a place to eat, and then we went inside there. We're like, okay. And then that was the place at the Taco Bell. So it worked out. Then some nice gentleman, told us some recommendations for food. He said there's a diner. So we're like, all right, let's go there. And Joe, I want, you could talk a little bit about your experience there. What did you think about the diner, the location, our waitress, the quality of the food, everything?
I think you're going to get that involved. I walked into the place, and I did not care for, the bar. There was a Taco Bell in that bar, and I thought, okay, that's cool. And in my 20s and maybe half of my 30s, I could have appreciated a place like that where I could go out drinking one night and then eat. But I don't do it that way anymore. I can't because of heartburn and all that kind of stuff. So that didn't give me. It was neat to see a little Taco Bell window. But I digress. I'm going to get back to the Court Deli. We walked up to the Court Deli via the advice of the nice gentleman that saw us looking around. And he sent us up there, and I'm going to tell you, it's just such a cool feel. And listen, I'm saying, you know me, and I've been in the Latin community before, and it's not all Latino up there, but there's a pretty darn good dose of Latin influence up there. And the place we walked into, I said 90% of the help was Latino, and our waitress was. So naturally, I was just, I was just being nice to her and letting her know we enjoyed her company, and I think vice versa. We're just a little friendly banter back and forth. The food was fantastic. I had a bacon cheeseburger, and I'm going to tell you, I wasn't sure what I'd be getting, but I didn't really care. I was like, well, as long as I get some food in my belly right now, because that's the first priority. We're going to go watching a ball game, and I don't know if whatever. But the food was really, the burgers were tantamount to Five Guys burgers, and they are not shabby. They're some of the best burgers I've ever had. Really, really, just really, really good. Good size, good consistency. The fries, I didn't think I was a steak fry guy until then. I was like, damn, I forgot how good these things are when they're not overdone. See, I don't like eating sticks. But these were nice and soft, and they were good. They were good. They were fantastic. You're over there doing food reviews and everything else, and I'm just eating. I'm just eating. I'm listening to you going, yeah, I'm over here, and I'm listening. I don't know what he's doing, but I'm eating. And then I start pulling a couple fries off your plate. And then I wanted something sweet to top it off. And so I had a chunk of of cheesecake.
Tell the
And
story though. Like, you wanted dessert, and then she was explaining that like she didn't have regular cheesecake. So like you were quick. Like there was literally not even a millisecond.
Yeah.
Like, she said that it's strawberry cheesecake. And what did you say?
Well, I said to her, look, what are your desserts in this? We have chocolate mousse, we have this. And I said, it's just, and she says, we have fruit cheesecake. And I was like, what do we, and she goes, but let me go check to make sure everything's fresh and this and that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to argue where they're there. Go ahead, do what you got to do. And she comes back and she said, okay, this and that. I said, listen, do you have anything like vanilla cake? Just something bland. Not bland, but just something like vanilla cake. How about plain cheesecake? And she goes, I don't have plain cheesecake. I have strawberry cheesecake. I said, good, bring me one. I'll knock the strawberry off it and I'll make it a plain. So that's exactly what I did. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was half the size. It was big. It was half the size of a car battery. And I'm thinking, because with cheesecake, if it's dense, you don't need much. But as it turns out, this wasn't. Sometimes it's like mousse. It's so damn fluffy and light. This was somewhere in between. It was really good. So the chunk that I got was just about hit the spot, and it was good. And we enjoyed that young lady's company, and we were joking around with her.
What about like we went to pay the check, right? Well, she like you tipped her and everything, but she's like, I'll knock the cheesecake off. Like she gave you the cheesecake for free. That was pretty cool.
That is, as I went up to pay the bill and this and that, and see, listen, that's not an easy way to make a living. So unless you bring me something that's absolutely deplorable or I have to wait an hour, and if you're within everything was good. Everything was actually better than expected. So, I always go 25%. Now, that's what I go. I go 1/4 of the bill, 25%. A lot of these people, they don't make, so that's basically what I did for her, but I wanted to go up and make sure, I wanted to expedite the process. And she was wonderful, but she was just a little chatty with another waitress up there and this and that, and were other people in the restaurant. I wanted to get out of there then because I wanted us to go get our seats. So I kind of expedited the process, and I went up to the register and just started talking with her a little bit. I said, here, let's do this here and so forth and so on. And she goes, oh, I just want to let you know I gave you a cheesecake for free. I'm like, well, thank you, baby girl. I said, I appreciate that, this and that, and we're back and forth. It's just really nice. I mean, look, just to be friendly and nice, and also, it was just really cool. Just conversing again with with certain, yeah, and being in that, in an environment, it was fun. That's all. But to the ball game.
Yeah. So what was your very first impression of the Yankee Stadium? Like outside, inside, like what were you thinking when you like? All right, just when you got to the seat, like what was your first thought? Were you like, damn, this is cool, or what was going through your mind?
Well, before that, let's back it up, because as we're strutting down 161st Street and we're bobbing cars and everything, I felt like Dustin Hoffman hey, we're walking over here, we're walking and we're just having fun. We're walking down 161st, and all of a sudden you walk and you get to a block and you look up and there it is. It's like so different from anything I was used to in Philly here with that stadium and so forth and so on. Usually you drive in and there's a big parking lot. The parking lot's like a half mile, a quarter mile away from and you see but I guess it makes sense. It's Yankee Stadium. It was built many, 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 many decades ago. And it's right it's like you're walking a couple of blocks and it's like right there. But that's why, you showed me this. There are a bunch of series of small parking lots, just, a block here, another couple blocks here, then a couple blocks. You go this way, but there's a bunch of series of small parking lots where you park. There isn't this big parking lot for Yankee Stadium, unlike, some things I'm used to. So that in and of itself is like, wow, this is plopped right here in the Bronx, right in, in town here. So that's cool. When I walked through the doors, I looked up and I just saw this array of these banners on the wall on the left-hand side of all the old players going down, Mickey Mantle and DiMaggio and Garrick and Ruth and all the way down. That was pretty neat. It wasn't the Monument Park you're talking about, or whatever that is. There's just the array. You remember we walked in and you looked to the left, that array of banners. It was pretty cool. And then we just walked to our seats, and this is the first ballpark I've been in, pro ballpark I've been in, other than in Philly, and it was just so cool to be in that place with all that history. And I looked out and saw the big scoreboard, and Judge, Aaron Judge was one of the first players I saw. He was like out there alone in right field, like shallow right field, just jogging a little bit. Like there's my dude. I mean, I'm a Phillies fan, but there's Judge right there. And it was just, I was glad I made the trip from that, even walking up to the place. It was like, yeah, I'm glad, it's good. It's just cool to do something different. But it was really neat. It was really neat. And we almost messed around and caught about 3 or 4 foul balls. We were right. And I mean, they were buzzing around us. It just didn't, when you're in a stadium like that, it's got to come right almost to your row, or the one right in front of you or right behind you, so you could reach it. So, but we were close, but that wasn't why we went. And ironically, the Phillies were playing. I mean, for me, I would have gone with you that night to a Yankee game, just to go to a Yankee game, regardless of who the hell was playing. They could have been playing the Oakland A's or the Detroit Tigers or the Brewers. I don't give a damn. I wanted to see the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, and I did. And the bonus was I got to see them play my team, who unfortunately is not off to a good start, but they won that day. So, that was cool too. So
a couple home runs.
Yeah, a couple of home runs, and
just to quickly gloss over what the whole experience. What about the fans around you? Do you think they were respectful? Was it mixed? Because we saw a couple of verbal fights between Yankee fans, and then we saw verbal fights between Phillies and Yankee fans, and then the crescendo was we saw a real fight right in our section, like a couple seats away from us. And I saw this guy's feet up in the air. Like the guy did like a wrestling move and lifted him up in the air high enough to where I saw his feet in the air, like above.
Yeah, I did too.
In front of me. So was that cool? Was that part of the whole experience? Were you happy that there was kind of like some energy and some fighting going on? Was that cool for you, or did that kind of hurt your experience?
Neither. I didn't hurt my experience, but it certainly didn't enhance it. I thought the guy that did that, both of those guys were just, man, I think there's a limit, and I can even remember, and I've calmed down a lot. I used to be pretty nuts too when it came to like other teams, that kind of a thing. But I would never, I would never really hook it with some. I would. I mean, I thought that guy they pulled out of there was a little. Well, I'm not going to use any terms I shouldn't. But let me just back up a second. We were sitting right in back of a young lady and her boyfriend, husband, whatever it was, and they were obviously Yankee fans, and there was some jokers behind us that were, I guess, New York fans, and they were chirping, and no one chirped at me. I was speaking to the young lady in front of me, that guy's wife or girlfriend or whoever it was, and she turned to me because the guys behind us were like, they were chirping. They weren't really insulting me personally, but they were chirping this and that. And she even turned to like look back at them. And then she looked at me like we were looking at each other like, I don't know. And she said something to me and I said something to her. And I said, well, I don't even care anyway, because I'm a Philly fan. And her eyes got a little bit bigger and she's looking up. I said, but you know what? This is the kind of stuff that these jokers are doing here. This is the kind of stuff that we get blamed for. And she goes, something or other. Yeah, I know. And I said, blah, blah, blah. So at least I was conversing with someone who was a Yankees fan that we were both, she and I both were noticing that, yeah. And I said, you know what the truth is? You know what the truth is, dear? You get these people in every fan base, but when it happens in Philly, then ESPN wants to do a 30-30 on it. It's like it gets way too much. You know what I mean? It's like if it happens anywhere else, it is what it is. When it happens in Philly, oh my God, to Philadelphia. But I digress. I had a gentleman sitting next to me. That he started talking and he says, yeah, it's not like this in Texas. I'm like, what part of Texas you from, bruh? And he says, Dallas. And I said, oh, okay. I said, then my boy, I pointed to you. I said, my boy's a Cowboys fan. I said, and it was, but nevertheless, my point is I spoke to this guy all half the night, joking around and, so forth. There was a guy in front of us who was from out near where my sister lives. My sister lives out in the Indianapolis area. This guy lives maybe an hour northwest of Indianapolis, but still in Indiana. Got to talking with him. This guy's son, his two sons were with him. One of the sons is touring this area right now, looking for college to sign up with for football. He's a wide receiver, and it was pretty cool. We got to talk to a little bit.
I was very happy. Like, you were being pretty social. I like, that was good. Like, you weren't just sitting there and like,
Oh yeah, no, that's not
like,
half the battle with me is just a lot of times I don't feel like going out because I'm chill. I'm in my chair. But once I'm out, once you get me out, it's like, that's the way I am. But I enjoyed their company. They seemed to enjoy my company and so forth and so on. I said goodbye to both of those gentlemen. And I think even, she waved a little bit when they left to get a little hand wave. But, and matter of fact, she was messing with me a little bit too. But you remember the ball girl down we
gotta talk about that because that was kind of weird. It was like a misunderstanding, but she put you in like an awkward spot.
Well, it was tongue in cheek also. She wasn't really going to break out her nightstick and come after me. She was just like joking. The ball girl down below. Now we're 12 rows off the field plus a little bit more room, and the ball girl makes a stop and she looks out our way. And she threw the ball about 5 rows and I'm like, she couldn't reach it up here anyway. So the lady in front of me, to whom I just referenced, younger girl, maybe 28, 29, well, she turned around and she said, when I said, I don't think she'd reach up here anyway, she goes, and she looks at me and she gives me that look. And it was the look that I get from my sister. It wasn't a look like I'm really pissed off at you. It was just like a look like she's playing with me a little bit. She like, and why is that? And like, I'm supposed to say, well, because she's a woman, she can't reach up here. Now, of course, I'm not going to say anything. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'll tell you what I really meant was, it's really nothing to do with her gender. I just really think it's because I knew where she was going with it. And even her husband or boyfriend, he looked over me. He's like, oh, they can't. But it was one of those moments. It was a tongue in cheek. She's messing with me like, why? Because she's a woman type thing. But it wasn't a serious. It was like a joking type thing. And so my response was, I was a gentleman too with it. And we just went on to, back and forth, and no one was insulted. And she was having fun with me a little bit. And I was just playing along, and we it was nice. It was a nice thing. Now, all this stuff happens. Now, do you remember the joker in front of us with the red hat? I don't know
that was another one which I touched on briefly. Bringing this up, sounded like he was arguing with another Yankees fan. Like it was like first the lady got up and then she like did a lap and like she looked like she was going to complain or something was going. Everyone noticed her get up. Like I wasn't locked into her most of the game, but apparently other people were. But then she got back and then like her and the guy started like arguing, and I'm like, what is going on? Because I think they're both Yankees fans, right? It was just like. It was funny, like the back and forth was so New York. It was just so funny. The guy's like, no, I think she's like, they're telling him to sit down. And he's like, no, I think I'm just going to keep standing. A matter of fact, it was one of those things, There's a lot of attitude and personality exchanged. But, what was your opinion on that little back and forth?
I didn't know what was going on. I saw him, and he's giving her the double bird. He's standing up looking at her, giving her the double bird. And I could see he had a red hat on, but the red hat had the NY up top.
Yankees, yeah, it was Yankees.
Yeah, so it was very strange. It was like, what of all nights to wear that one? That's a little bit, Anyway, but he's giving her the double bird. I figure, well, maybe is she a Phillies fan? And because this was right after, it seemed to me like right after a big loud crowd roar. I think the Yankees did something that they finally put something on the board or whatever it was. I don't know, but it seemed like my immediate take on it was she was, I guess, a Phillies fan that had been maybe chirping with him, and he turns around and giving her the double bird. But the more I'm thinking about it, he knew her first name because he went on. This happened. What I just said happened. And after the double bird, I don't know what happened. And then about 15 minutes later, she comes back with security. Remember that?
Yeah.
She had security with her, and security starts talking with him, and then he jumps up and says, "Oh, God damn it, Baba, whatever her name was,
Yeah.
Diane or whatever blah blah blah." And I thought, wow, he knows her name. What is going on here? I don't know what's going on. And he goes, "I'm 45 years old. I'm a grown man. I'll do what I want." This and that. So I guess you're right. I guess she knew him, was trying to get him to sit down at some point during the game. He wasn't going to sit down. He turns around, gives her the double bird. She goes and gets security. I'm thinking, oh man, this is funny actually. And then I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know what was in the water or the moon. There was a full moon. I don't know what the hell went on. But about 5 minutes later, that's when I started hearing some commotion over in the next aisle, and I see feet. I see these black pants, like black jeans the guy had on, like tight black jeans the guy had on, and then I see these two legs like with black jeans up in the air and then going the other way.
Yeah, did you get the video I sent you? I got some footage from the fight, but the people were standing up in front of us. It's not clear, but like you could kind of see if you look through the crevices and the cracks of the people, like you could see some of the fight. So I do have 40 seconds of some of this fight. I don't know if you got that video I sent.
I got the video, but it's hard to see anything through there.
It's pretty cool. You hear people like, the whole environment. It's this little piece of what happened. Obviously,
you hear the voices. Yeah.
I mean, it was just you try to pull out your phone really quickly when these things happen. You're like, I gotta record this. It's a fight in the stadium, right? So yeah, that was interesting what happened. But those guys who fought, I didn't know if they were Phillies and Yankee fans fighting. I thought they were just like two drunk guys who just started like fighting.
That's what I don't understand, because after the legs that went up in the air, the only guy I saw was that little guy in the Yankee jersey. I didn't see the other guy with the skinny black legs with the black jeans on. I didn't see the other fella at all, other than his legs being in the air. I don't know.
You saw the guy. You saw the security take the one guy out in cuffs, though, right?
Yeah, and that even it was starting to get on to me. I'm like, get out of here, because I didn't know if he was fighting with a Phillies fan or whatever. I don't know, but I think everyone was chirping at him. Some of these assholes were cheering for him. Some were booing, like, get out of here. I think I was on the latter, like, get out of here, will you? Because he looked, if you even saw, he thought it was a big joke. He looked all proud of himself when he's getting handcuffed. He looked all proud of himself. I'm like, you're an asshole, dude. Anyway, you know what? It was just funny to see something like that.
Were you kind of surprised that we had pretty good seats? Like, this stuff usually happens up in the bleachers, and a lot of stuff goes on in like the nosebleeds and the bleachers. Like, people are there, like not even paying attention to the game. A lot of them are just there because it's a social thing. It's cool to be in the ballpark. They can half pay attention, and like they're drinking, they're getting wasted, they're drinking, and like stuff starts happening right in the, up in those nosebleeds and those bleachers. That's where the shenanigans occurs. But it happened literally right in our section, which was I was looking around the whole stadium, just from our vantage point, and like I didn't see much other stuff happening in other sections. It was just like our section, so it was kind of interesting that our section was the one with the most action.
Yeah, and you know what? I wasn't like totally surprised. I mean, I wasn't like totally surprised at all. I was a little bit, I would say, slightly, like. At that, slightly disappointed. When it starts getting to that level, it's like, cuz I don't care whether you know him, he's your boy and he's another New York fan. I don't care if he's a Philly fan, whatever, and you're disagreeing with each other. I don't know. And nor do I care. At some point you have got to, but maybe you're right. Maybe they were tanked up and drunk. I don't know.
That's usually what it is. It's usually there's alcohol involved,
Yeah, that's usually the case, but it didn't really bother me one way or the other. Put a little spice on.
So I honestly, I'm happy all that stuff happened, because it's like that's like especially for your experience going to a ball game and going to Yankee Stadium. Like, I'm happy that we didn't just sit there and because people think baseball is boring. Like, oh, what do you want to watch 9 innings of baseball? And I thought that the pitch clock really helped things. The pitch clock really moved the game along a lot faster than usual. I think it cuts off an average of 20 minutes per game, but. I was happy that you got like the total experience. You got to eat the New York food. You got to, walk a little bit in the city, and you got to see some action. You got to deal with some real New Yorkers. And your team won. You know what I mean? It's the beginning of the season. I'm not too angry that the Yankees lost. There's
Right.
162 games, right? So I felt like that was cool. I was like really kind of happy that there was a fight. I was happy that there was action in our section, you know?
Yeah, and I was happy to do something that we talked about, like to get out and do it. I was happy to see New York again. And we'll be back. We're going to be back to another ball game. We're going to be back to Manhattan to mess around in there, get some slices in there, and just get a Manhattan day or something like that. That's cool stuff. New York's a cool place, and my heart, soul, and DNA is Philadelphia, but that doesn't mean you can't love your cousin. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean it has to be adversarial all the time. You know what I mean? Because New York is a lot like Philly. Even Michael Rappaport said that when he was talking about it. Anyway, it was really good. It was a very pleasant experience, and I'm glad we did that. But yeah, it's early on in the baseball season, thank God, and you guys are off to a pretty good start. We've got some problems, but we'll see how
I
it
don't know,
goes.
man. Like, just like being at that game, I know like Anthony Rizzo didn't play, but I'm kind of scared. The bottom of our lineup, like after there's Judge, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Rizzo. Then it starts getting dicey. You know what I mean? You heard the fans, as we played Aaron Hicks that night. Aaron Hicks was playing I think he was playing left field that night. And the fans absolutely hate Aaron Hicks, and for good reason. Like, he just doesn't really ever do anything. But I'm kind of scared. The bottom, we have that guy Anthony Volpe. What do you think about that? The Anthony Volpe, he's Italian. He's our young and upcoming player. He's our shortstop now. He's only 21 years old. He's like the number 3 ranked prospect in baseball. Were you cracking up at those high school kids behind us, wherever they were, just making Italian jokes the whole time?
Well, they were kids. They were very, very, very young. Had they been a little older or whatever, that's a little different. Had they been saying things that were really, I mean, they just said little smart things. I mean, just some smart things, just like little, but they never really come out and really, they didn't take the gloves off and really, really use detrimental racial slurs and suggestions and so forth. They were pretty mild in general and goofy is all they were. And they were very, very young. So as they would say this or that, and I'm not even Italian, but it just would like to pull them aside. Yo, guy, you don't want to be doing this stuff or saying this stuff like out in public a lot. You could get yourself jammed up. That's not the way the world is today. And God forbid you do this on a job somewhere. But he was just making little, I'm not even going to repeat stuff, but it was just general stuff that there were a couple of folks near us who it appeared to be Italian American. They weren't that upset. First of all, like I said, they're kids, they're goofy kids. And second of all, the things they were saying were very docile. He was leaning on Volpe and his ethnicity, but not real harshly. And for that reason, I mean, that's because you said to me after the game, boy, they were,
Because I'm like I'm like at least 20% Italian, so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, man, if this was like the old days and there were some mob guys in the crowd, like real mob guys,
well, that's different.
They would be in trouble. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what you see in the movies too, that, say something like that, but they got to understand something too. It's not the movies. It's not Goodfellas, number one. And number two, you're 20% or whatever like that. When Sean is Irish, you look Irish to me. You look like dark-haired Irish, and I mean the majority of you is other things. So I don't, had your last name been Bongiovanni or something, I might, but it's not, and so forth. Not that's a beautiful last name. But I'm just saying, I don't think of you as that way. I don't think you should have been insulted. And you have to know that they're goofy kids, and all those factors put together. And now, is it really worth? Suppose one of us or someone were to have said something that I think everyone was laughing at them because they're idiots. And I think, honestly, we were all, there was, there were a couple African American guys, one to my right, one in front of me, the guys I was just talking about with, one from Texas and one from Indiana. And we're all just looking at each other every time he said something. Not that he was that funny. It was just that they were so stupid enough to say stuff like that. Now, is it worth getting arrested? and teeing off on a
No,
19-year-old. No.
that didn't even, yeah, to me, I'm just sitting there peacefully and like I would never cross my mind to do something like that. But it was just irritating me. I was like, okay, this is enough. It's just like they're overdoing it. It's like nonstop. It's like, it just got, I think what happened when you're with your friends like that, you know how it is when you're in high school and college, you try to one up each other.
Yes.
Funnier than the last person said. Like it gets out of hand where you keep saying you keep trying to one up each other and you keep making these comments.
Right.
I think that's what was going on. They were just trying to like impress each other. They probably saw the reaction of the people around them. They're probably like, oh, let's just keep going with this.
Yeah, because they didn't know it, but people were laughing at them, not really with them. They thought people were laughing with them. That gives them reinforcement, so they keep going. And if you were to say, if I were someone to have gone to one of the ones that said it and say, hey, young man, this is, it's not a good idea. Maybe you ought to. Now he's in front of his buddies. He's going to try to. He's not going to acquiesce. Probably he's going to show his buddies that, hey man, I'll tell you what I want. And all of a sudden you're in this thing with a 19-year-old kid. Is it really worth it? I'm not going to jail. I'm not getting locked up. I'm not leaving in handcuffs unless I really have to. And for that kind of silly stuff, I mean, that's not. And I just was laughing at those jokers because they were just that. They were literally just jokers. Anyway, and they were kids, and it was just one of those. It was just one of those things that. And like I said, he was saying things that even if someone had been a full Italian American standing right there, they may not even have been that offended because he didn't use any of the key words. He referred to a couple like food dishes, or I'm not even going to get into it or this or that, but very, very docile stuff. Very, very docile.
Yeah, a lot of meatball references, right?
Yeah, innocuous, very innocuous stuff like that, and that's and damn, you're New York. They were New York fans because I could tell by some of the other stuff they were saying. They were New York fans, so they're kicking their own guy in the groin there. I don't know what the hell that's about because I guess they were disenchanted with his play that night and whatever. But. Those guys, they're going to learn a lesson somewhere along the line. Hopefully it's not too difficult when they learn that lesson. But you can't be doing that stuff most of the time. You're not going to get away with that stuff. And they're going to learn one way or the other. And hopefully they grow up before they actually learn a really difficult lesson.
Yeah.
Maybe they grow up first, so we'll see what goes on, but it's certainly not worth now. If he's chirping and saying stuff about my mama or something like that, might be a different, I don't know. I don't, but there was no reason for either one of us certainly to, take anything.
No. It was just kind of an irritation to me. I was just like, okay, at first it was like, okay, that was kind of funny. And then they kept going on for a couple of innings. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
shut up. But anyway. The game was good. We had a good time. I'm glad you saw Yankee Stadium. I'm glad you got some of the New York experience. Definitely a good time. So yeah, that's the Yankee game. By the way, the Phillies won 4-1 that night. It was the Tuesday night, April 4th game that was on Amazon.
And
yep. Moving on real quickly. I just want to talk a little bit about Easter and Passover, just really quickly. We got other topics. I'm going to talk about the movies I saw, Saturday Night Live review, a couple other stupid little things,
I've got my actor and
we're gonna do the normal. We're gonna do some normal format type stuff, but just want to talk a little bit real quickly about Easter and Passover. So Easter was just yesterday. Basically, it's Resurrection Sunday is another name for it. The crucifixion and resurrection took place during the week of Passover. So they're kind of always connected in a way. So Jesus was resurrected. It occurred on the third day of his burial following his crucifixion by the Romans around 30 AD. It's basically just celebrating his resurrection from the dead. He was in that cave and then there's Roman guards there. And then somehow the Roman guards, the big stone that was blocking the cave, that thing was gone and Jesus was gone out of the tomb. His body was not there. This is the story, obviously, but
right.
A lot of people believe.
Well, that's why they call it faith, but that's good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It basically established Jesus as the Son of God. and it's proof that God will righteously judge the world. That's what people say. And those who follow Jesus are spiritually resurrected with him, so they could receive eternal salvation, and they could dwell in the kingdom of heaven with Jesus one day. That's kind of the idea behind it. And the first Christians timed the observance of the annual celebration of resurrections in relation to Passover, so that's why they're kind of close together. And there's a bunch of other, Easter little facts here and there. There's a lot of different things. People say the eggs are dyed to represent the blood of Jesus Christ, but that's kind of just a theory. Easter eggs actually date back way before Easter. I think medieval Europe, and they might not have been the ones to start the tradition. They're a symbol of fertility and rebirth. That's what
medieval Europe is way after Jesus.
Yeah, but no, they're trying to say the Easter eggs originated from medieval Europe, and Christians may not have actually been the ones to start the tradition of giving eggs.
Right. I believe that. That's yeah.
There's all sorts of different things, different fun facts here and there. But the idea is to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Right. And it's showing it's the most important holiday of the Christian faith. Unlike most people on the outside think it's Christmas, it's not. This is it. On the third day, he rose again in fulfillment of the scriptures, and his kingdom will have no end. Pretty cool stuff. And he was seen walking around after Sunday. So it was pretty cool. Thank you for that synopsis. What about Passover? Tell me a little bit about that.
So Passover, in Hebrew, the word is Pesach. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Pesach. Pesach is, I can't speak Hebrew, but it's obviously a very major Jewish holiday. It celebrates the biblical story. The Israelites escaped from slavery in Egypt. They were slaves in the desert. And there was a thing where, if they didn't, Moses said, if they didn't if they didn't free the slaves, there would be all these plagues,
right.
The water turning the blood, the pestilence, the boils.
What point in history was this? Do you know offhand? What year in history approximately was this this exile?
I'm not really sure.
That's okay. I think from the Jews, I think you're going back. You could be going back to 1,000 years before Christ, I think, or maybe even more.
Sure.
That's okay. That's okay. It was well before Christ, but it was basically. If I'm hearing you right, it was their freeing of slavery, their freedom from slavery.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also some other things here. So basically, Passover, Pesach, however you say it. Right. Starts on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. They call it Nisan. There's all these terms. When you're researching this stuff, there's all these Hebrew terms and different terms. It gets kind of confusing. But the 15th day of the Hebrew month is supposed to consider the first day of the first month of the Hebrew year.
Okay.
But it's in the book of Exodus. That's where the Israelites, they're enslaved in ancient Egypt. Yahweh was the God of the Israelites. He appeared to Moses in the burning bush. Moses, commanded Moses to confront the Pharaoh. The show was power. He did the 10 plagues, which I kind of touched upon real quick. And before the final plague, Yahweh commanded Moses to tell the Israelites to mark a lamb's blood above their doors in order that Yahweh will pass over them. So because they were trying to kill the firstborn. That was one of the plagues. All the firstborns would die.
Yeah, this is like 4,000 BC. This is 3,000 BC.
If you had blood above your door, then you wouldn't be touched by the death of your firstborn wouldn't die.
That's pretty cool. That's where the term Passover comes. So they're putting blood up against the door so the angel of death passes over their doorway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we're going back about 5,000 years. So it's 3,000 BC, it's roughly. So I just wanted to make sure that get the timeline. It's about 3,000 BC, I guess, in that ballpark. And that's pretty cool. One more time about the blood and about the doors. One more time for those who didn't hear.
Yeah, basically to protect your firstborn child, you put the blood of the lamb on your door.
Okay, during this time.
Yeah,
so
I think it was around. It says 1200s BC. There's no one in the world can know the exact date, obviously.
Right.
But they speculate It's been celebrated since the 5th century BC.
Fifth
So I think
century
around in the
BC.
1200s BC, that's what I'm reading. But I didn't want to give dates. I don't want to do that stuff because no one really knows. No one. There's all these speculation. Some people say the 1400s BC, but it's just kind of it's been going on forever. Obviously, it was around the
Yeah,
time
no
of
one.
Moses. So, and then there's all these different things that go along with it, like observant Jewish people. They before Passover, they do a lot of house cleaning to remove all the chametz. I don't know if I'm saying this right, chametz or chametz.
I think it's shamans. Yeah.
It does not include baking soda, baking powder, or like products, and they have leavened bread. It's made from one of the 5 types of grains combined with water. And it stands for 18 minutes. There's all these different things that goes on with the bread and everything, but I don't want to get lost
Yeah.
in the sauce here.
No,
The
but
idea of just if you're thinking Easter, you're thinking resurrection of Jesus. If you're thinking Passover, you're thinking, escape from slavery, and then you discover, the firstborn was going to die, so they put the blood in their door to protect their firstborn. And there's all these different cool things you learn about, but the main idea is it's just like celebrating the resurrection of Jesus and freeing the Jews from slavery. That's pretty much the important part.
yeah, and the third day he rose again and was walking around. And on the other one, the name Passover is the blood across, like you explained, the blood over the doorway, so the angel of death doesn't go to that house; he passes over that house. That's pretty cool stuff. And I just wanted to we always say this is not a religious program, but religion is part of life. It's part of culture. There are myriad religions out there, and we're not going to touch every single one of them, but the major ones we're going to acknowledge acknowledge their core beliefs and their core holidays. And I think it might be a while now before we do that again, but we respect everybody, and we want to bring light to where there might be misconception about a lot of things, much as we did with Ramadan.
Yeah.
Ramadan. People there, wait a minute. Well, here are the core beliefs. Anything bad there? Well, not really. Okay, well, that's all we're trying to say. And here, the Passover thing is really, I got my dates mixed up to whatever. I guess I was thinking of Moses. I think of him a long time ago, but it's celebrating the freedom of slavery, and they may not have started that till after that too. But you're saying it's around 1200 years before Christ. And again, Passover, blood over the doorway, so the angel of death passes over my house because my youngest one, firstborn or whatever, I don't want to, to avoid death. Right? That's cool.
Just to be clear, the Israelites, they were wandering the desert for 40 years. That's quite a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Passover is about 7 days. So yeah, I mean, Passover and Easter are always kind of interconnected. And one thing I just learned actually when I was reading about the Easter, I think they said Good Friday is only celebrated in like 11 states. So that was pretty interesting.
That is weird. And you know what else too? One other thing, Sean, we always talk about Good Friday, and we always know that the day before was Thursday. And that was the day of the Last Supper. And that Thursday, I think somehow starts, I don't know if it starts, but it has something to do with Passover too, because don't forget, Christ was a what? He was a rabbi, right? So there's something about that Thursday, right before, the day before Good Friday, and the Last Supper that ties in with Passover somehow too. Somehow that was a Passover. I'm not sure. Somehow that was a Passover meal or something like that. So we'll look into that as we go. We will retouch on that as we go.
We don't want to like do a whole lecture on Easter and Passover here. This show's something entertaining.
We want to respect people.
Educational too, but just wanted to touch on the main things here, right? If people
Thank you.
It's like, okay, why do we celebrate Easter? There's Easter bunnies, there's eggs, candy, there's chocolate, what is going on here? And the meaning is, to celebrate the resurrection of Christ, and then Passover to celebrate the freeing of the Israelites and their slaves. You know what I mean? So that's really what's important. You know what I mean? Getting caught up in like the year and all this type of stuff. It's like,
Right. No, we've done what we set out to do, which was acknowledge and respect everything. So good job.
Thanks. All right. So quickly, I saw a couple movies, man. I saw the new Super Mario Brothers. It was very nostalgic. If you played Super Mario, if you had a Nintendo in the 80s, if you even had a Super Nintendo in the 90s, and then an N64, and Nintendo Wii, and Nintendo Switch, if you're a Nintendo person, Super Mario. The younger generation knows more Mario Kart because Mario Kart, I think, is still pretty popular. But for me, it was very nostalgic. I went into it not knowing what to think. I was like, oh, this is going to be okay. What are they going to do with Super Mario? How are they going to make this entertaining? But I loved it. I thought the voices were good. I think Chris Pratt was the voice of Mario. Charlie Day was Luigi. Bowser was Jack Black. And he had this one good scene where he's playing the piano because he's like obsessed with Princess Peach. And Princess Peach is voiced by Anna Taylor-Joy. I think that's her name. She's from that chess show on Netflix, an excellent show. But yeah, it was good. It was entertaining. It wasn't just full. The theater wasn't just full of kids. It was, a little bit of everybody. It was funny at times. It was, they're two small plumbers who live in Brooklyn, and then they go through this portal, and then there's an whole other world. They're like, what's going on in this world here? Everything's like weird. It's like there's like talking mushrooms. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. It's like a whole nother world. So if you let your imagination just think about, the Mario universe and get lost in the movie or have a good time, I think the movie worldwide, it's only been out since Wednesday. I think it made almost $400 million. It's the largest animated opening, I think, ever. I think domestically in US, I think it made around 200 million. So I give Super Mario Brothers, because, grain of salt, it's an animated movie. They're not like usually my favorites, but because there's so much nostalgia and I love Super Mario, I'll give it a strong 7.6. Did enjoy it. But another movie that I saw that I really enjoyed it, one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm putting it in my favorite movies of all time. I enjoyed it that much. Air, A-I-R, like the word air. All about Michael Jordan and his shoe deal that he got with Nike. Michael Jordan's not really in the movie. The guy who plays him is just like a small part of the movie. It's all about Sonny Vaccaro and Phil Knight. Phil Knight's played by Ben Affleck, the head of Nike. Sonny Vaccaro works in the basketball division. He's like a basketball savant. He works for Nike. And they're trying to decide, because Nike at the time, they were a small sneaker company. Converse and Adidas had the large market share of the basketball market in the shoes. So Nike was like, they're like, okay, this is the top 15 draft picks. Who can we get? Where should we throw our money at to get who should represent our brand? And they were going to throw $250,000 was their budget at the time. This was like 1984. They were just going to throw it at like 3 random players and just see if they worked out. And Sonny Vaccaro started watching tape of Michael Jordan. He's like, no, this guy is so special. Let's commit all our resources, all our budget for this season to this. Let's try to get Michael Jordan. And then from there, I don't want to give away the movie, but from there you see how they maneuvered, how they got a meeting with Michael Jordan's mom, who was played by Viola Davis. She did an excellent job. Chris Tucker did an excellent job. And I was very proud that there's a famous former Villanova player named George Raveling. He actually played a pretty important part in the movie in terms of getting Michael Jordan to Nike. So I was proud that Villanova kind of had a connection, because obviously it became Air Jordan. It became a monopoly. It became just the monster in the sneaker industry. But I don't want to talk about it too much, but the movie was phenomenal. I loved it. If you like Good Will Hunting, if you like the chemistry between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, you will absolutely love this movie. The acting was great. It was never boring. I thought Jason Bateman did a good job too. This was amazing. I think I like this movie better than Good Will Hunting, which is saying a lot. I'm giving it a 9.3, Joe.
Whoa.
This is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It was that good.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going to dig it, because you know where I stand on Michael Jordan and the whole debate. There is no debate. And I remember when those shoes first came out. And yeah, who doesn't like those two together? Ben and, Matt, right? Who doesn't like those two together? They always combine to do quality stuff. So yeah, I saw the clips for it. I think I'm going to enjoy that. Yeah.
It's made by Amazon Studios. So, it made $15 million. And I anticipated it wouldn't, because obviously it was up against a lot of competition. Super Mario and Dungeons and Dragons. It's not really a big mainstream type of movie. A lot of people are like, oh, Michael Jordan's shoe deal. What is that movie? And if you don't really appreciate cinema and Matt Damon and Affleck and good writing and good acting and true quality cinema, just disregarding, even if you don't like sports, you don't have to like sports to appreciate this movie, but it made about $15 million. But just back to my original point, it's made by Amazon Studios. So I think in a month, it's either going to be on pay-per-view, streaming at home where you have to pay for it, or if you have Amazon Prime, it might be free with Prime. So, Joe, you might be able to watch this sooner than you think.
Cool.
So definitely a great movie. Then Saturday Night Live. There was a couple episodes because we haven't done the show in 2 weeks. The last episode was a couple weeks ago because we had the national title game was Monday night. Congratulations to UConn. They won the national title. I predicted on November 27th, I predicted in a text message that UConn would win the national title, but I was dumb enough not to bet on them. I should have just threw a bet on them. It would have been some money. But anyway, we haven't done a show in 2 weeks. There's been 2 episodes of Saturday Night Live, SNL. Most recently hosted by Molly Shannon. The episode before was Quinta Brunson. And Joe, did you check out any of these episodes?
I can't remember. I think if we just do the most recent one, I mean, we can't go. It's not that big of a. It's not that big of a show. It's not that big. But most recently, Sean, I just saw that the most recent one, and I kind of liked that. I kind of like Molly Shannon doing her thing again with the red sweatsuit and I'm 50 years old, that kind of thing. I think that it's been okay. It's been a B minus. It's been a B minus.
I actually
the whole show, the last couple,
the last couple of episodes, the ones that they've had in April so far, not my favorite episodes. I mean, there were some good skits. I mean, I thought the Molly Shannon video game thing was where she walks in and she finds out there's a whole video game about her life. Every year they make a new version. It's just like controlling Molly Shannon's life in a video game. It's like Molly Shannon 2K23, Molly Shannon 2K20, like. Just kind of like it's because there's NBA 2K, those are basketball games. So that's a pretty clever idea to do something like that, where like she had no idea that they were making a video game about her life all these years. So that was pretty interesting.
I like the valet one. The valet one was kind of cool.
Just refresh my memory. What was the valet one again?
The valet one is the guy. There's the valet, the people that park your car and stuff like that, and they're nice people at a nice hotel. The guy is out there and he's doing a training on some newcomers to be valets. And Molly Shannon is one of a couple people who are just newcomers and they're into this training. And he's got a little chart out there and he says, a little, what did he say? A little joke, a little jog or something like that or something, it's very, very simple stuff to do. But this is a training for people who are going to be valets. And she was one of the students. And the idea was to go over to the customer and get their keys and give them a little joke and a little semi-half jog back, like it looked like.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I don't think it was done well.
Paying attention during that one because I thought that one was like, because it's like they had to like piss the customer off purposely. That was like the premise.
No, they weren't supposed to piss the customer
because
off.
The first, I think it was her or someone else, like went up. The first person who went up to the customer, like really offended the customer.
Right.
Like so, like mean. I was like, is this the whole premise? Like they're supposed to like really like piss the customer?
No, that was the whole thing. That the students, the would-be valets, misinterpreted something so simple to go up and get the keys, give a little joke, and then to give a little. That the guy demonstrated. He walked up and he said, "Oh yeah, no, okay." And it was a nice little friendly joke, and he says, "Now I want you guys to do that same thing. Remember, little joke, little that, and then a little half jog back." And the guy went up. Keena Turner, was that the guy's name? I forget the guy's name. He's been on the show forever. African American fella, kind of chunky.
Kenan Thompson.
Yeah. Keena Turner was a football player. I'm sorry, for the 49ers years ago. But he walks up and he starts insulting the guy, and starts suggesting that he's sexually inadequate with his wife and stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean, he went really overboard. But that was the humor, that he couldn't understand simple instructions, so he went overboard with the joke and so forth. And that was and then she came up and she was like super quiet. She couldn't say 2 words to them. And that was the whole thing. The whole funny thing was that something as simple and as mundane as it was being asked was something they couldn't do.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. So you missed the beginning. You weren't paying attention to the beginning.
No, I was, but it was Saturday night.
I thought the video game thing was kind of put me to sleep.
Yeah. What did you like the stand-up comic one where it was a horrible stand-up comic, but like the reviews,
yes.
The reviews were like really good. It was like it was kind of ironic and like kind of counter, it was just going against the grain.
Counterintuitive. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That was okay. And I thought you would like the Trump opening where like they had the Last Supper, and then like Trump's like, "Oh, that reminds me of me." I'm just like,
let me tell you, when they first started that, I'm like, yo, you're thin ice here, buddy. I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what they're going to do here with this. This is not cool. And just around the time they froze it, where they froze, I thought, okay, they didn't do anything that was. Now, look, they can do whatever they want, but I'm thinking to myself, it wouldn't be a good idea to get too cute here, fellas. And they didn't. And then when he came out, I was like, oh, this is cool, because I think that guy does the absolute best Trump impression I've ever seen. Dude, I'm telling you. And if you're ever super a little bit relaxed or have a couple drinks and you're sitting in your chair one night, you're watching this thing, you might even think for a second, is that really him? Like, what the hell's going on here? I mean,
his name is James Austin Johnson.
He has got Trump down to he's got Trump down to the T, dude. I mean, it's really, really good. And anytime anyone can impersonate anyone that closely, I'm watching it, because it's just so neat. It's just so neat. I mean, Rich Little used to be able to do, and there's some people, some comedians along the way, every once in a while, you get ones that just do a dead on. I mean, not even close is funny, but dead on is like, whoa. This is eerie and it's funny and it's cool, but that's the way he did that. I like that one. And I thought the one where the pregnant lady wasn't really pregnant, she just had gas, I thought it was a little goofy.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little goofy.
The week before, Keita Brunson, thought like the one where she was a midwife, or she was a midwife, the Asian character on SNL. She was so offended that he didn't remember her, but they start going through the whole history. This is like 2 weeks ago, Joe. If you don't have to comment, if you don't remember it, but like they start talking, and then she's so offended, but then they go through the whole history of how like they met, and then she realizes he's got different hair now or whatever, so that's why she didn't recognize him. I thought that was kind of unique, and they did a whole like historical like why she couldn't remember who he was. I thought that was okay. Then I just thought the highlight was the April Fool's prank they played on Colin Jost during Weekend Update.
Yeah, that was clever.
He made jokes about Trump and like no one laughed. And then like Michael Che is like, he's like, oh, I told him not to laugh. So I thought that was pretty, they did something cool like that. It's pretty unique where they, did like a live prank. I thought that was
that actually was something that was, because I even looked at it like, what's going on here? It's like, what the hell just happened? I even rewound that part, like, because I missed, like, what was going on? Because I didn't hear, for some reason, I didn't hear when he said, "Oh, I told him to do it." I heard him say, "I told him," whoa, and I didn't hear. And I saw Colin Jost going, "Oh man, that was the worst thing you ever did." I'm like, "What happened?" So I actually had to rewind that to see what happened. Yeah, but that was clever.
Yeah. But I'm just happy. I love when SNL is on Saturday night. It's always a good, thing for that show to be on. It gives you something to watch on Saturday night. It's live TV. They're trying their best to be funny. Everything doesn't always land, but I appreciate them being on air. And I think they're going to be on the next 2 weeks, because they do take breaks here and there. They take like 2 weeks, three weeks off at a time. Sometimes it's kind of annoying, but so that was cool. I just want to talk a little bit about Saturday night. I went to see a coworker's band play, and they're a cover band, and he plays the bass guitar, and I thought they were pretty good. They actually played one of these nights by Eagles.
That's cool.
So they played that, and I mean, they played Superstition by Stevie Wonder, and I was there to support a coworker, support a friend from work, but it was a cool little spot, and he's actually really good, and I think he's got potential to be like a lifelong musician if he wants to be. Because there was only a 3-piece band, and I'm looking at the band. I'm like, who's got potential to because it's like a local cover band, and like I don't know what other they have more original music, but like they're playing at local restaurants, they're playing a lot of cover songs, so you can't really see how unique the actual band is. But in terms of like my friend, his guitar playing, I thought he was like really good. So I think he's gonna be go places with music. He's young, he's in his 20s. But it was cool. It was cool to see, because you work with people, you don't really know what they're like outside work, and what their skills are and their talents are and why they're where they are and stuff. And there's people chasing their dreams, and I I don't know. I thought it was cool. And they played a lot of songs I like, so I thought that was pretty cool. That was Saturday night, so
And that was
um,
cool. And one thing I forgot to mention about game day is I got to meet and shout out to Denise. I got to meet somebody that you know, very nice lady, and I just wanted to put that out there. Hats off to Denise, good lady, nice to meet her.
yeah, she's a real sweetheart,
Yep.
really nice lady. And let's quickly want to talk about, dude. One night I smoked a joint, and then I saw something come up for Subway Footlong Pass for the month of April. I'm like, what's a Footlong Pass? Next thing you know, I spent $15 for a Footlong Pass for the month of April, and I haven't eaten Subway in years. So now I feel obligated to buy Footlongs because I spent $15 in the pass, but I did the math. I'm like, I have to go to Subway at least 6 times to make it a deal. Because Footlongs, they're not that cheap. They're at least like $12 per footlong. So I'm basically getting my footlong for $6 instead of $12. But I've gone 3 times in the past couple of days. I've got 3 footlongs. I got one waiting for me for after the show. The chicken onion teriyaki is actually really good. So
That's my go-to on a wheat roll. That's my go-to.
If you find some stuff that's pretty good at Subway. So, but the thing about it is, I was high one night. I bought a Subway footlong pass. I'm like, it's so much bread. I'm trying to work on my abs. I'm like, I have to buy subs. And psychologically, I'm like, I want to get my money's worth. That's the way I am, I guess. But next thing I know, I'm going to Subway like 2 or 3 times a week, biting subs. I digress.
That's the thing about a lot of, you have to hesitate a lot of the times. Well, you get these deals where you buy so many and you get this one free. And it's like, well, yeah, if you buy 77 of them, your 78th is free. And it's like, whoa, it was like, there's a matter of fact, there's a Seinfeld about that too. Elaine wanted to get her free sub, and she was going through hell and back to get her free sub. But yeah. I like Subway, and as a matter of fact, I just told you today I'm gonna try to drop a couple of pounds here because I guess it's just springtime or whatever, and it's just time for me. I just before things get, I want to try to reel things back a little. And Subway, I don't know, but that the last time I went to Subway, I would get that chicken teriyaki on a wheat roll, and it's good.
It's good.
It's good, and I don't think it's that fattening. So I'm going to look into that.
I think what happened over the years was I started going to Jersey Mike's more, and I had like a bad experience at Subway, and I thought like they didn't put enough meat on like the Italian sub, and I'm like screw that place. They don't give you any meat. It's like not as high quality as Jersey Mike's, and I never had reason to go to Subway. They opened in one of my town I used to live in, and that one went out of business. And I'm like, what's going on with Subway? What's with this franchise? They used to have Jared, the famous guy who was fat that he lost weight.
Well, that Joker didn't do them any favors either.
But that guy, yeah, then he went to prison for being like a pedophile. So like Subway just like for me, a Subway was just like a no-go. But then like the footlong pass came up, and I'm like,
you can't blame Subway for him. I mean,
I
got you though. I got you.
I lumped them together. I was just like, screw Subway. You know what I mean? But
you can't. I got you. At that time, you did.
Yeah. So, so I'm just not a promo for Subway, but it's better than there's a lot of these days. A lot of Subways are inside Walmart. I go to Walmart, a lot for various things, and it's on my way home. So I'm like, I can stop and get myself a sub. It's like $6 for a footlong. It's good. They put a lot of chicken on it. You get a lot of chicken. The bread seems pretty fresh. The sweet onion sauce is very tasty. I get some American cheese. I get some American cheese on there. Hits the spot. You know what I mean? It's like 600 calories per footlong, which is actually not that terrible because I had a 6-inch Italian sub from Quick Check today for lunch at work, and that's like 600 calories. So these,
Well, with the Italian sub, you're talking about the ham and the capicola and the Genoa. It's all good. Believe me, it's good. But this is just the inverse. I'm glad you told me for the full size chicken teriyaki. And see, I won't even get cheese on it. What I get on mine is the chicken teriyaki and lettuce and a little sauce, and it's good. I get it on a wheat roll, and I haven't for a while, but I'm going to mess around and go back to it now that I'm going to really start trying to. Summer's coming up, so I'm going to try to trim up a little bit. So, it's ironic that you went to that flavor too, because that was my go-to with Subway. It's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. All right. So I know this opening's been pretty long, but we had a lot to talk about. I mean, Joe and I went to a Yankee game, so there's a lot of stories and just we're fun flowing here. And we wanted to touch on Easter a little bit and Passover, just to like be polite because we did the other holidays and like, we don't want to get lost in the sauce and start lecturing people and
No.
start falling asleep and turning us off,
No.
But no, I mean, Easter and Passover are big holidays. We like put it this way, like next year, for example, I don't even know if we have to even touch on these holidays again, dude, because we've already done it this year. Next year, maybe we'll just talk about some stories that we had. We'll just quickly, talk about.
Well, what I suggest we do, Sean, and it is the next time it comes around, like Christmas. Christmas comes around again.
You don't have to duplicate what we've done, is what I'm saying.
No, but we just I like to just revisit and say, hey, let's all remember what this is. Bing, 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 bing. And let's remember that Hanukkah is bing, 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 bing. So that we do it. And we can always say, just like we said last year, we're just going to, but I think it's important that we acknowledge, briefly recap and move on. But we're not a religious program, but we are cognizant of everyone's right to have their own religion. And we also want people from different religions to learn something maybe they didn't know. I mean, just in researching Ramadan, I learned a couple things I didn't know. I did. So maybe someone listening will learn and keep an open ear and say, well, yeah, I guess that religion isn't what I thought it was. That kind of thing. And just one more thing. I have my orthopedic shoes on. I stand corrected. But I was thinking that Moses was a dude that was around like way before he was. And you're right. It was as recently as like 1,300 years before Christ. So that's something that, for whatever reason, I guess I never really studied the Bible, never went to Bible, but I always thought Moses was a little further back in time. So that's something tonight that I just learned, that Moses was only about 1,300 or 1,400 years before Christ. So there you go. I learned something tonight just from us doing that. So we're good.
Absolutely, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on to our actor. Well, quickly before we move on to the actor, there was a shooting today at a bank. You hear about that, Joe?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
So thoughts and prayers for the victims of that shooting today.
Yes.
I believe it was Louisville.
Yep.
Some, disturbed ex-employee of the bank. I think the guy, I haven't done my research on reading about it that much, but what I saw was he was a former worker there at the bank. And it seemed like he had an agenda. He's only 25 years old, I believe, which is like, it's very sad, but thoughts and prayers. I'm sick of these mass shootings. I can't, I'm just so sick of seeing these mass shootings. It's just, I'm tired of it,
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's do our actor. We got Bruce Willis, Joe. You chose Bruce. His real name is actually Walter. My dad's name is Walter. I didn't even know that. I didn't know Bruce's real name was Walter, but he was born March 19th, 1955 in West Germany because it was a U.S. military base. His father was in the military. Then he grew up in Penns Grove, New Jersey. His mom worked at a bank, and his father was a welder and a factory worker, also former military. He developed an interest in acting in high school. Fun little fact here about perseverance is he spoke with a stutter. His schoolmates nicknamed him Buck Buck. He joined the drama club, and then he found that acting reduced his stutter. And he was actually elected student council president. So he persevered because, kids are cruel. If you have one little weakness, they'll just pick on it, and it could really just affect you really bad. He didn't let it get to him. You know what I mean? He overcame it.
Yeah.
He was discovered working in a New York City cafe. The casting director liked him. He was bartending, so he got a role as a bartender, actually. Then he got a role in the TV series Moonlighting in 1985, which he won an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. His first key movie role was Blind Date in 1987, and then Die Hard in 1988. Little stories that happened when he was in New York City. He needed all the money he could get, so he had a little place in New York City. I think he only had one bed, but two women moved in with him when he was in New York City working as a bartender, and they slept in the same bed as him for 9 months. Pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
He says he didn't sleep with them. He was on, I think he had a really good rapport with, he was on Letterman a lot. But I think I saw this I think I saw this in a Conan interview. Conan was talking to him. He's a pretty wild guy. I mean, he told Conan he was on Conan O'Brien. He said, "Don't you just want to kick somebody's ass sometimes?" And I'm like, man, this guy's a tough ass. He's a tough guy. Because I don't really walk around thinking that. I don't really want. I try to avoid violence, right?
Right.
And this Bruce Willis, he became a big action star. He's the type of guy who just walks around. Sometimes you just want to kick someone's ass, and I'm like, dude, this guy's a real tough guy. Um, what I saw during his interviews, he does a lot of practical jokes during his interviews. He seems very sarcastic and funny. He knows how to go with jokes, laugh at himself, turn it around on the host of the late night show and make fun of them. So he's got a good personality. It's very sad what he's going through now because
Yeah.
in March of 2022, he's announced he was retiring because he has aphasia. But then in 2023, recently, they announced he has dementia. So he's pretty much not, he has to retire because health issues. I've seen a ton of stuff he's been in. I've seen all the diehards. One movie that I didn't see, I saw bits and pieces. My friends told me to watch it. The Last Boy Scout. I've never seen the whole movie. I don't know, watch that. He's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Pulp Fiction. He's in a bunch of movies that I've seen. I don't want to go down the whole list, but just the highlights here. Beavis and Butthead, The Fifth Element, The Jackal, Armageddon, you can't forget that. The Sixth Sense, you can't forget that. Unbreakable, Ocean's 12, Sin City, Lucky Number 11, Surrogates, Looper. I digress. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a monster megastar A-lister. It's a shame we can't see him act anymore because obviously his health things come up, as you know, Joe. This stuff comes out of nowhere. You can't. These are diseases that are genetic and things happen and life changes. But he lived a very fulfilling life and he affected a lot of people's life in positive ways. Gave a lot of people joy throughout his movies. So seems like a good guy. And Joe, why'd you choose Bruce?
Well, I had to choose him. I chose him because I had to select somebody, and I wasn't sure what I was doing. And I don't know whether he popped onto the screen somewhere. I just thought about him. I'm not really sure, but he's always been, I thought, a tremendous actor. That plus, I told you my brother-in-law Niles, and his friend Jay. His friend Jay went to high school with Bruce Willis. And about 10 years after high school, maybe 5 years after high school, I don't know what it was. It was 5 or 6, maybe 8 years after high school. Niles, my brother-in-law, was with his friend Jay that grew up and went to high school with Bruce Willis, and they were in a bar in that area. They stopped in at a bar in that area to have a beer, and there's Willis. And he had hair down to his shoulders, this is back in the early mid 70s, I guess. Hair down to the shoulders, and just sitting there, and just a regular dude. This is before any of this stuff you just mentioned, and he was just and he just looked like a regular guy. And Jay sat down with him because he went to high school with him. They had a beer with him, and Niles was right there with him, and Niles will always have that story about how he had a beer with Bruce Willis, and before he was even, but he was always he was from this area, and he was always revisiting, and he was proud of this area, and he was always a good guy. And also, I think maybe his recent problems maybe triggered me to give him more attention right about now anyway, because it's tough. It really is tough. And then I heard his current wife talk about, and she's talking about would people please get out of the way when she's got him out in public. And she goes, anyone who's ever taken care of someone like this knows that it's really, really difficult and sometimes bordering on impossible to get something like that done. It's as simple as taking someone like that out into public and maneuvering about and getting your chores done or getting something to eat or do whatever. And she was just begging people, like, please, because of his condition, and that just triggered me too. So, no, I between the story, which Niles is, and if you know my brother-in-law, he's not one to make something like that up. And I didn't even hear that story till, last summer. I was out there visiting him, and we were talking about, Bruce Willis and his problems. And the story came up. I'm like, no, she never told me that. It's, well, I don't, but that's true. So, and I thought he's always been a good actor, a very, very good actor, solid actor, and he's been around for a long time. So, without further ado, I'll give you my anyone's top 5 list is subjective. You know what I mean? So, my top 5, and one could go crazy here because he's seemingly been in everything, but here's my top 5. 5 would be Die Hard, the original. 4, Unbreakable. Thought was pretty clever. It was a good movie. 3, it's a movie called Striking Distance, where he played a river cop out in Pittsburgh. and it was really a different. And it was the young girl from Sex and the City. What's her name? She's married to
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. She played his girlfriend in the movie.
Don't it's Dennis Farina in that too?
Farina's in that.
Tom Sizemore.
Sizemore's in it, and the guy that played the painter for Murphy Brown, when Murphy Brown was at home, she had a guy that come in, was a painter. He's also another famous. I mean, that thing was loaded. The thing was that film was loaded, and it was about he was a river cop in Pittsburgh, and there's some stuff going on, and there's some murders being committed, and everyone's looking at each other sideways. That's all I'm going to tell you. But it was really a cool movie for a lot of different reasons. That was my third. Number two was The Sixth Sense. That was something else. It really, really, really was. As a matter of, I'll tell you a story about that when I'm done. The first one, number one, as if you didn't know, was Pulp Fiction, of course. Zed's dead, baby. You know what I mean? I mean, this is nothing. There's nothing. And in that movie, he had a little girlfriend that was foreign from him. I don't know whether she was from Europe or she was Latin or whatever she was. But I thought she was the cutest thing in the world. I want to get blueberry pancakes. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, but his role in that was really tremendous. So again, I'll read it back to you. Number 5, Die Hard. 4, Unbreakable. 3, Striking Distance. 2, Sixth Sense. 1, Pulp Fiction. The Sixth Sense reminds me, and I'll just get this in quickly. I told you I used to work with kids with emotional disorders and so forth and so on, and emotionally disturbed and behavior disorders and so forth. And this isn't funny. This is kind of sad, but I made sure everybody was, you going to be okay with this? You're going to be okay with this movie? Okay, yeah. And this little fella, he was about 13, and this isn't too bad, but we went to the movies and we saw all this, and remember how that ended. It was like, whoa. And got back to the group home, and okay, everybody, you finish up your nighttime chores and then get your showers or whatever, get, hygiene, and everybody get ready because bedtime's in about 45 minutes. And okay, and come bedtime, I'm checking on them, all of them, to make sure they're all, and this joker's sitting on the side of his bed. He's not laying down in his bed. And I said, yo, what's going on, man? What's going on? And he said, that movie, I'm scared that movie. But I had to talk him down a little bit. And I had to, and listen, man, it's okay, brother. That was just a movie. That all that stuff was just pretend. That's never that kind of a thing, but I'll never forget that. Now, he was cool after I talked to him a little bit about it. And I said, listen, you see this chair? I'm going to be right outside your door here. I'm going to be right outside your door. So I moved my chair to right outside his door, and I said, I'm going to be right out here. There's not, believe me, would I take you somewhere where I, something, would I expose you to something like that, or something that if it were true, come on. And it's just a movie, and it's good that you learn it now. And okay, but it took a little bit, but he was shook. He was shook, and I'll never forget that. But I always try to do what I can to make sure there are certain things you don't want to take them to go see, obviously, and some of them that they can handle. And the other 6 kids I had out there had no problem with it because they know but it was just one of those times. And it was that movie. The Sixth Sense. I'll just never forget that. But as it turns out, he was cool. He got to sleep. He never had any more problems with it. But I'll just always remember that. But that's about it. That's about it as far as that's concerned. Where are we in our itinerary here, Sean?
So we, did actor Bruce Willis. Just want to say quickly, one of my favorite Bruce Willis movies is The Jackal. He plays a hitman in that. I love that movie.
I'll have to say it along with The Boy Scout because I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, Last Boy Scout was from 1991, and The Jackal was from 1997. So there was a lot of good action films in the 90s, 80s too, but 90s had a lot. All right, so Snapple Fact, Joe. You chose this one, 1351. The ostrich produces a booming noise, often confused with a lion's roar. The reason they do that is because it's kind of like a warning call It's supposed to scare off predators, and it's supposed to warn all the other ostriches in the vicinity. So, it sounds like a lion's roar, apparently. Who knew ostriches can do that?
That's the whole thing, Sean. I mean, yeah, an ostrich is a big bird. An ostrich can look, I'm 6'1", and an ostrich, I'm pretty sure, can look me eyeball to eyeball. That's a lot. That's a big ass bird. You look outside your back porch, you see a little bird. I wonder if a little bird would look like if it were my size. Well,
Yeah.
go look at an ostrich. But what surprised me is, dude, I have been, and I'm not going to get to it, but I was in the Philadelphia Zoo one time. This is going back 35 years. The Philadelphia Zoo one time for a day, and then we walked right around before we left. It was around 5 o'clock or whatever, right? And it was around fall, so it was starting to get dark. But we walked through the lions, not lions, but the tiger, same thing, big cat. We walked through there. There's an outside part, and then when they come in, they're inside, and it's all big bars and everything. But we walked through the inside part during feeding time, and they were pacing back and forth, and they knew it was feeding time, and they were hungry. But I'm telling you, Sean,
Big and scary, man.
and you're inside. I mean, and it was it was like, oh, but it was like really. I mean, it would like go right through you. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of animal. That's a lot of hungry animal too. But to imagine, and these folks don't exaggerate, that this ostrich can mimic that sound. That's like, I did not know that, nor would I want to be around when they did it, man, because but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Cool.
Are you ready to be stumped?
Oh, you're still on my line, man. You're still on my line. Let's go.
I had to. All right. Here we go. Yeah, you'll get it. This is easy stuff. All right. The first one. Mercedes-Benz Research and Development working on a hover car for the year 2030. Mercedes-Benz Research and Development, R&D, working on a hover car for 2030. Next headline. Tacoma, as in Washington, or some people say Washington, Tacoma woman with tuberculosis found in contempt of court after refusing treatment. Tacoma woman with tuberculosis found in contempt of court after refusing treatment. Okay. Last one. Marine biologists in Chile are training dolphins how to play chess. Marine biologists in Chile are training dolphins how to play chess.
Okay, so the woman was held in contempt of court for refusing treatment?
Yep, for tuberculosis.
For tuberculosis. Okay. The Mercedes one, they're trying to create a hover car by 2030, you said?
Yep.
All right, so I'm just going to go through my thought process here. Hover cars are not going to be around by 2030. There's no way. We're trying the current event today. We're going to do a quick current event, and it involves electrical cars. And basically, we're trying to have all electrical cars by 2035. And if we can't even have electrical cars by 2035, how are we supposed to have hover cars? So I don't think that's going to happen by 2030. I could see, by the year 3000, by 2075, but no, I don't think that one's real. The tuberculosis one, I think the dolphins training to play chess is real, but I'm probably wrong. What's real? What's real, Joe?
You are incorrect, sir.
Tuberculosis, was tuberculosis real?
The tuberculosis, she was refusing. She's like, oh, well, I don't really give a rat's ass about anybody else but myself. So she's refusing tuberculosis. And they said, no, we're going to mess around and lock you up. She'll be held in Pierce County Jail for up to 45 days for testing and treatment until she is no longer a threat to public health.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't, it almost sounded like I was going to pick that one. And I'm like, you know what? Because I've read some crazy stories about like dolphins are really smart.
Yeah.
And you can train them to do a lot of different things. So it wasn't that far fetched that they could learn how to play chess.
That's why I thought that was a pretty good creation on my behalf there. I wanted to stray away from the old, archaeologists find this or lady finds $17,000 in a Frisbee or some shit, Yeah. I wanted to stray away a little. So. Yeah, that's good. That's all right. These are tough, all of them.
Yeah.
So
good job. Good job.
No problem.
All right. So quick Bryan Kohberger update. Apparently, the police found one of the slain victims' ID, in his glove box in his car. So if that's not a smoking gun, I'm not sure what it is. Why would he have a student ID of one of the people who were apparently killed? So, there's so much evidence against this guy. That one to me is like, wow, this is he like the dumbest criminal ever? He just has like the student ID in his glove box. I mean, how is he not guilty if that's in there? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
On top of everything else, that's all the other evidence. But that's one of the most recent updates I saw. So I'm like, okay, when is this guy going to jail again? When's he getting the death penalty? When's he gonna, suffer in prison? Because he's just a terrible excuse for a human being if he's guilty. But all signs point that he's probably guilty. He seems more guilty than OJ did. I'll just put it that way. And obviously, OJ was, probably guilty.
Wow, probably. Yeah. No, I got you though. I got you.
He's trying to give a good analogy. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like this guy Kohberger. Every time I see news about him, it's like, okay, like there's so much evidence against him, so it's absurd. So, all right. So we're gonna do a quick. We did a long show, a big opening, a lot of stories. I don't want to get lost in the sauce. I don't want to get too lectury, but I do want to talk about a quick article. It's from the New York Times. It's called "Calculating the Fastest Road to an Electric Car Future." It's funny you just brought up the flying cars because it's like we're just trying to like get these electrical cars, on the road for everyone, and I don't know how it's going to happen. There's all these things they have to do to make it plausible. They have to have, number one, they have to have charging stations all around everywhere. Because I go on like road trips and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, if I have an electrical car, like I don't want to stop. And they take a long time to charge. I think they take an hour to charge some of these cars. So, say you're on a road trip, instead of just stopping quickly to get gas and moving on and keep driving, you got to stop and charge your car for like, hopefully it's only like 5 minutes when they perfect the technology. But the EPA, they're proposing an ambitious greenhouse gas emission standards. It's supposed to ensure that at least half the new vehicles sold in the U.S. are all electric by 2030. So, that's quite an ambitious goal, but by 2030, they want at least half the new cars. And by 2035, they want gas-powered cars to be obsolete. But the problem is electric cars are so expensive. There's not enough, materials and supply chains to make them that quickly and cheaply. And also they take half the work that, there's so much less parts in electrical cars. It's going to reduce a lot of jobs. A lot of these factory workers who build cars, they're going to lose their jobs because there's not enough room for them to work on the electrical cars, because there's not as nearly as many parts. So it's ambitious to think by 2035, it's going to be all electrical cars,
Right.
They're trying to like test them out really fastly though. I mean, they're putting the electrical cars on giant treadmills continuously for 12-hour shifts to see how many miles they can travel on a single charge. They've heated the cars to nearly 100 degrees and then frozen them overnight to assess the battery strength. So they're really trying to improve the technology. But like I said, one of the biggest important points here is that they require fewer than half the number of workers to assemble than gas-powered cars. I mean, a Ford F-150, for example, it's assembled by 4,200 employees in a conventional truck plant. But the electrical F-150 is just essentially a giant battery attached to motors, and all you need is about 720 workers to build that thing. So, it's going to be tough to get there by 2035. I think it's ambitious, but Biden says he wants to reduce the U.S.'s greenhouse gas pollution at least 50% by 2030. And then a 2021 report by the International Energy Agency said that nations would have to stop selling new gasoline-powered cars by 2035, or else global temperatures will increase 1.5 degrees Celsius. So, yeah, it's even California has already banned sale of new internal combustion engine vehicles after 2035. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I like my gas car. I like going to the gas station. I don't like paying for gas, but it's the best way to do it. Plus, it creates so many jobs. I'm kind of on the fence of how I feel. I mean, I might have to get with the times, and who knows what I'll be doing in 2035. I might have an electrical vehicle and just think, oh, this is cool, this is normal. But the problem is, if everyone has them, there's got to be a lot of chargers, and charging has to be efficient, like I said, it's going to be a steep climb. But Joe, what's your opinion on this?
My opinion is, about 17 years ago, they first came out with this plasma TV, and these things were like 6 inches thick, and they were giant. And this is plasma TV, and this is unbelievable. And they're, boy, if you want this one, it costs about $7,000. What happens is technology starts to get better, and they keep working on it. And as time goes by, the technology gets more efficient, and the product becomes more and more affordable because it's no longer new. It's been around for a while. It's being worked on. And so that's what I see happening here, that eventually the cost of these things will come down. Eventually, they'll be ubiquitous. They'll be all over the place. The only negative thing I heard you talk about was the immediate lack of jobs. But you know what? If a company can construct these things, these electric vehicles, and do it really efficiently, maybe they'll take on other projects too, in which they can employ other people. So maybe it won't be just cars. Maybe this will enable them to venture into other areas where they can take on other projects. Who knows what's coming down the line? But that's the only negative drawback. And the only other thing I say about gasoline is obviously, we can't run from it. We can't run from gasoline and the emissions and everything else and what it's doing to the planet and then the repercussion. We can't, Sean. We can't. Okay. I'm not being political. I'm just saying
if somebody told me the future, it's like, listen, if you guys keep driving these gas cars, the planet's going to be obsolete and deleted in about 200 years. It's no longer going to exist. Earth is going to be over with. Say that to me, I'm like, okay, everybody, let's get electrical cars. Let's do what we got to do. Let's get rid of the plastic bags. Let's save our planet. But no one can really tell us for certain that, the world's going to end, right? So it's like, and plus no one's thinking like 200 years ahead. They're thinking about like their children, their grandchildren. But yeah, we have to be focused on the future generations. We want our planet to survive. So if this is what we got to do, we got to do it. But,
right. Do you want our future generations to look back and say, what the hell were they thinking?
Yeah. I mean, we got to be proactive, and we got to do, we can't,
and one more thing I need to say, Sean, please let me say this, because before, the only thing I want to say about in addition to all these other things that I think are going to be advantageous, the price will come. I just quoted you, like, go back and look at the cost of a plasma, not even the stuff we're looking at today, which is even higher definition, but just plasma TVs when they first came out. They were thousands. I mean, so the price comes down, exponentially, almost literally exponentially. It comes down to a reasonable rate. I'm looking at right now a 55-inch screen that I think I spent, I don't know, I think I spent $300 on, maybe. No, I'm not even sure, but it was something like that. And it's a beautiful picture. The absence of gasoline in accidents makes me feel a lot better, because people get in car accidents, Sean, and it doesn't take much for that gas tank to rupture, and all it takes is a little spark. And I can't even imagine being in a vehicle and having it burning up like that. I mean, and it's happened. My family has known one of my dad's friends' sons was about 10 years older than I, and he got slammed by a tractor trailer on the vehicle, just went into flames, and he burned up. I mean, so when you get rid of the oil and the gasoline, you're going to get rid of a lot of the, flammable liquids that are really, really deadly in car accidents. So that's something else we don't need, in addition to the environmental implications and so forth and so on. So I'm all for it. And like you said, right now, you could see people at that Quick Check that you were referring to me earlier about, that Quick Check store up there near Robbinsville. I would stop in there once in a while and get a sandwich and sit in the parking lot and eat. And I'd see people come in with their electric vehicles and be standing around waiting because they're charging up. But it's all brand new. 5 years from now, it may be the way technology moves, it may be 5 years from now where they come in and what used to take them an hour might take them about 9 minutes, and then they're gone. You know what I mean? So just look at cell phones when they first started. I can remember in like the mid to late 1980s, I had this thing on my hand that was bigger than a brick, like a standard brick. It was big and square and brick, but you know what? It was a phone. And I said to my buddy, I said, watch this, man. I'm going to call such and such. I said, oh, there's big antenna sticking out and everything like that. And this was like, wow, look at this thing. We could not have imagined what you and I take for granted today, these cell phones today.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
technology is
It
going
moves
to
along.
advance.
It moves along.
It moves along, but I think it's ambitious to think by like 2035, which is just like 12 years away. I mean, 12 years.
That may be soon. That may be soon.
Every single car, in every single car, like it's ambitious, and the fact that California has already, banned the sale of new gas cars, and after 2035, like I think they're already putting the horse ahead of the cart, whatever they call that quote.
Putting the cart in front of the horse. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Listen, if it helps our planet and it's not expensive, and it's just I could find an electrical car for around the same price as a gas car, and I like the car, and it goes fast enough, gets me to where I want to go, it charges quick enough, I can go on road trips, not wasting money on gas anymore, then yeah, I mean, let's do it. But 2035 to me just stuck out as like really soon,
Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about 12 years, right? Okay. So, I mean, 12 years to wait.
What if somebody buys a new gas car in like 2032, and they're like, what do they do in 35? Like, can they buy can the government buy that car from them and just trade it for like an electric car? They have a really nice car, has low mileage, it's only 3 years old. Where are all these old cars going to go? How are we going to recycle these things?
Well, that's we'll work on that. I'm not sure if is it you can't purchase anything after that 2035, or you can't be on the road after 2035.
They're creating the rules as they go along. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, and I'm sure if someone buys a car in 2033, right? They're not going to. I mean, they're going to take. I'm really sure that. And then maybe an exception. There may be exceptions, like, okay, you bought this, you're grandfathered in, but that's it, like something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't Russia or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. So that's current event. We're just gonna do sports really quickly. UConn won the national title. The Masters ended yesterday. John Rahm. I don't know if it's pronounced his name because I wasn't really. I'm not a big golf watcher. Throw it on here.
John Rahm. Yeah.
John, is it Rahm or Rahm?
It's Rahm.
So John Rahm won, but apparently Brooks Koepka choked. Apparently he had like a lead because Dave Portnoy was the guy, Barstool Sports founder, was just teasing Brooks Koepka all over Twitter. He's like, "Oh, this guy's choking." That I was getting alerts from Portnoy's tweets on my phone. I'm like, okay, something's going on with the Masters, but apparently he choked, and this guy Rahm, I guess, took and there. I think Mickelson came in third. I think there was 4 Americans in the top 6. But the guy, John Rahm, who won, is he from Spain?
John Rahm is from Spain, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw the Spanish flag. So
yeah,
he won $15 million for that. Big victory. Nice chunk of change there.
Any golfer knows that green jacket is the pinnacle. So it's cool.
Yeah,
cool to see him.
Someone made a funny joke about the green jacket.
It's probably someone that doesn't know a goddamn thing about golf, so that's fine.
Really, I don't know if it was Fallon or something. It was really funny. It's like why are they green jackets? They make a really witty, clever joke, but I digress. So John Rahm won the Masters, UConn won the national title. NBA playoffs are starting. It looks like, Joe, you guys are playing the Nets. The Knicks are playing the Cavs.
That's not such an easy task. The Cavs.
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm not overlooking the Cavs at all. But my prediction is Knicks win in 6. Knicks in 6. What is your prediction for the Sixers?
Well, for this, I'm not going to be cocky or anything, but I can see. I think the Sixers should do this in 5.
Okay. And then I don't know if Joe, if you like this or not, but the NBA added a couple years ago called the play-in games. So instead of the top 8 seeds automatically making the playoffs, they make the other seeds, like the 7th and 8th seeds, and the 9th and 10th seeds play a play-in game, and they have to compete for their spot in the playoffs.
Right.
So it's kind of like a do or die situation. So tomorrow night, you got those play-in games start tomorrow night. There's play-in games on Wednesday night.
I'm just laughing at. Did you see the Timberwolves? Did you see what happened with what's his name? Bear?
Yeah, Rudy Gobert, yeah.
Gobert gets pissed off at his teammate and punches him in the chest across the huddle.
He's not going to be playing. They're playing the Lakers, I think, because the Lakers made a trade. They have a bunch of former Timberwolves. They got Beasley. They got D'Angelo Russell.
And
So,
one
so
guy on the Wolves walks off. I wasn't done. I'm sorry, but
okay.
one guy on the Wolves walks off. Not the guy that got punched. He's a different guy on the Wolves for whatever. I think he got in foul trouble. Same team now that Kohberger is on. The guy that this guy, I forget his name. I think maybe Williams or something like that. But he's on the Wolves, on the Timberwolves, and he got in foul trouble. He gets pissed off at himself, so he walks down the tunnelway and he punches the wall. He breaks his hand. And now he's out indefinitely. He's out. He's not going to play for the rest of the year, and his team is not going to have him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about jackasses left and right.
Gobert punched Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, between Gobert punching his teammate and getting tossed, and then his same teammate, this other joker, punching a wall because he got in foul trouble. I mean, the coach, I think his coach is Jason.
I think it was actually.
Yeah, these guys are immature, man.
He punched Kyle Anderson, and then Jaden McDaniels fractured. McDaniels fractured his hand.
He fractured his hand punching the wall because he was mad at himself for getting in foul trouble. So you got one guy hitting one teammate that gets ejected, another guy that gets in foul trouble. He punches the wall, breaks his hand. Now he's out for the playoffs. I mean, that would piss me off if I were the coach. Anyway, I didn't mean to. I just thought it's funny too when you really think about it. But go ahead, I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So NBA playoffs should be exciting. I'm actually going to one of the Knicks home playoff games. I'm kind of really excited for that because I haven't been to. As a Knicks fan, I saw them play when they played Michael Jordan at Madison Square Garden when I was a kid. I was like in third or fourth grade or something. It was cool, but I barely remember it. Now I'm actually a Knicks fan now. I was a Bulls fan as a kid because I loved MJ. But then I couldn't root for them when MJ retired. I lost the passion. And then I kind of just found myself rooting for the Knicks. They're local anyway. They're on TV and they're all history. They play in MSG. So it's my first Knicks game at MSG pretty much as a Knicks fan in my life. It's going to be a playoff game. I'm really excited. It's going to be fun. And then the NFL draft's coming up, man. That's going to be cool. It's Thursday, April 27th. So before the draft, man, we'll have some analysis about the draft, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's always a neat time of year.
We'll break down, what the teams need, what the Cowboys need, what the Eagles need, who's the best quarterback. We're going to do all that, guys. So, thanks everyone for listening. Remember the social media links are up. Please subscribe. Please review our show if you want. Joe, last word is yours.
Don't worry about the horse being blind. Just load the wagon. Good night.
Take care.